So welcome everybody to our regular Tuesday session where my colleague Dinesh and I talk about all things related to trekking in Nepal. And today we have a particularly interesting topic because I see a lot of it like questions asked and debated in the various groups and people that we talk to. And that is why a guide can actually be your best asset when you are trekking in Nepal. And there are different schools of thought as to whether a guide is necessary or not, and why you would hire a guide and all that sort of stuff. So we're going to unravel all of those and talk about the role of a guide, possibly look at some of the treks where you don't really need a guide, some of the treks where having a guide is not compulsory, but it might be a good idea, particularly if you're a first timer, and some of the treks where it is actually compulsory to have a guide. So before we dive into all of that, I thought we'd take a few minutes for a quick intro. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Michelle Hill and I am a business and travel coach. And for me, I guess you would call it love affair or fascination with Nepal started back in 2015 when I first trekked to Everest Base Camp. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done, but it was also completely exhilarating to achieve that. And it really kick-started for me a whole journey of transformation and personal development. And then I followed that trip up a couple of years later with Annapurna Circuit. And I haven't been back since because we kind of got interrupted for a couple of years with overseas travel. And I was planning to come back last year, and then I managed to go on a trek here in Australia and put some stress fractures in my left foot. So that's got a little bit delayed, but back in November this year, and Dinesh and I have got a really special tour planned. But for now, we'll put that to one side. We'll talk about that later. And I'm going to hand over to Dinesh now so he can introduce himself.
Thank you, Michelle. Good morning from Kathmandu. I'm Dinesh Karki, mountain guide born in the Mount Everest region, just like a couple of days down from the Everest base camp, where I was born and grew up and get my early educations until like my high school. I came to Kathmandu in my early age as there is no high school to continue my study. And I'm here for study, but at the meantime, I have to start my job as tourism as a porter because of it is easy for me to go follow this job because of my older brother also used to work in the same field. And from since when I was in 2000, when I was 14 years old, young boy, I started my job. So I help people as a porter in all over the Nepal, like in popular destinations, Everest, Annapurna, Langtang, Manaslu, Kanchenjunga, Makalu. Those were the trekking activities and climbing activities happened for almost 1 decade as helping in porter, cooking, so many things. After getting like long experience and got some education to how to guiding the people in the mountain, then finally I became a guide, and then I have been guiding. I had guiding like 12 years with one of the toppest level company in Kathmandu, which is a very popular company at that time, and been guiding long time with big responsibilities and with safety and priority of safety and security. And after successful guiding and big experience, not only myself, me and other my friends, guide friends, like we were working together from the beginning. We decided to provide our own service among tourism market in world, of course, in Nepal. So we have aiming to giving different experience and different service than in the market because of we learn and we see from our eye different vision, different things, and that's real aiming. We established our company Nature Explore Trek in 2015. It's been already 9 years now. So in 2015, where Michelle and I met in Kathmandu when she came for Everest Base Camp Trek, her Everest Base Camp Trek, and last 9 years, we're running our own company, Nature Explore Trek. And this journey, we meet like a couple of hundreds people. And we're glad we have so many good feedback in the in TripAdvisor or any social platforms or links we have. And we're very happy and proud to have what we're doing now, and we're love to continue our job until we can do. And then also in this my journey as an involving tourism sector, I'm lucky to have to travel in the different countries in the uh, Europe and Asian like Japan, Korea. Of course, India is neighbors for us. And also, we're not only organizing trip in Nepal, we also organize in the Bhutan, West Tibet, and Tibet, Central Tibet, East Tibet, India, of course, and Eastern India like Ladakh, Uttarakhand. You know the where the mountains are. We're quite big connected with a bigger our international travel connections. So yeah, we are very lucky and have continue, and I'm very happy to share this my experience through this event and through meetings. So welcome the event and the channel. So yeah, that's I want to tell now. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dinesh. You have a wealth of experience to share with us. And as you say, this is part of the reason for running these weekly events, so that you have the opportunity to reach more people and help them make their decisions about planning their Nepal adventure and possibly ticking off a bucket list item. So as I mentioned, today we're talking about why a guide can be your best asset. So I guess the first part of the discussion should really center around actually what is the role of a guide. And I've jotted down a few notes here where, a guide is someone who will basically lead the way and show you what track to follow, look out for your safety, will provide information about the areas that you're walking through and what you're looking at and which mountains are around you. Helps with the whole planning and organizing of the trek to make sure it runs smoothly and successfully, and that you have accommodation every night and all those sort of things. And then solving any unexpected issues that come up. And one of the biggest ones, I guess, with unexpected issues is when somebody suffers from altitude sickness as well. So in the context of all of these, Dinesh, would you like to just run through some of those and talk about, exactly what is the role of a guide, so that people understand what to expect when they are hiring a guide?
Thank you. Yeah, as I'm guiding and I'm a guide now, so I would say guide is the hero of your trek, but depends where you go, Like as Michelle already said, guide is not only showing you the trail, guide is your everything if you believe on him, like I mean, like when you, especially where you are in the mountains, for your safety, for your security, for your plan, for your for demonstrations, demanding and managing, arranging, and everything, right? So when you're planning your such a holiday from long time with long dream and with bucket list, and of course you need someone to guiding you to make successful trip to make successful journey during your staying in Nepal, India, Tibet, wherever. So I would say guide is the main hero of your trip. So who only will not only show you the trail, he will also uh, tell you and give you the safety and security. So of course guide will show you the trail and give you the location where you are going and what we doing and what you seeing in the following days and in the program. And then as well, he will also look after you from beginning to end of your trip. That means, well, maybe in the beginning of your trip, you don't feel that guide is necessary because as you are earlier starting and the elevation and altitude also very early, that means very low, no? But in the high section of your trip in the mountains, of course, you need more safety and security for the altitude and for landscape, for technical part to walk and climb, So the guide is doing this job for a long time, not only myself. I'm talking about whole Nepal or any world guide, Guide is the person who will show you the trail, and we will make sure everything, your accommodation, food, and we will also control your whole team, not only your showing the trail. You will also control the porters. You will also arranging your accommodation, where are you going to sleep, and where are you going to eat, and you will not only make sure that your food lodges, you will also suggest you the good food, what you need to eat on the mountains to keep your warm, strong energy for continue
Yeah.
complete your trip. So also the guide will also help you to communicate with locals. Maybe you are not understand all the mother tongue in the mountains. Those people who not speak English. So at that time, guide can translate the language between of you and the locals,
Yeah.
right? And also, guide will not only show you the mountains, they will also tell you the history, culture, religion, and then the basic lifestyle, the people who live in the mountains. So that means when you have a professional guide, we have a good communications, and we are the loyal, honesty guide. He will also give you the lot of informations about Nepal, about your region where you're trekking or where you're climbing. So that means you're not doing one trip in your life. That means you will understand more about Nepal. Your money, your transparency, your valuation will come bigger, higher. So always go with right person, right guide, through the right agency. Well, I'm an agency person, but I'm not taking any you can choose, but please make sure the right person, right guide. So in
Yeah.
our scenario, what do we do when we talk with people through the internet? We always talk clear. What we talk in the internet, we deliver the same thing in the mountains. That means in when you arrive in Kathmandu, we have a face-to-face talk with guide, right? So you can communicate, you can introduce with him, you can also bit chat about mountains or history if you know earlier a little bit. So that makes sure everything. That means the guide is the main role, who gonna give you the safety and then security. Sometimes everywhere, not only in Everest, Annapurna, Langtang, Manaslu. Nepal is smaller, but the trekking is wide. That means if you go far west of Nepal, far east of Nepal, like in the remote area, sometimes all the locals are not friendly as you thinking. So they might be not understanding about tourism or white people. So that
Yeah.
means they might think something different and giving like some harassment or problem, or maybe taking your things, because camera money is always important for them,
Yeah.
as they're thinking. So in this case, the guide is making all this comfortable. Our guide will give you safety. Guide will make sure everything. So that is the main point to hire you guide. So
Yeah.
go with guide to make sure
Yeah.
your trip comfortable and make for longer life and memorable trip. That
Yeah.
how it help.
Yeah. And for me personally, as I said, Everest Base Camp was the first time that I'd ever been to Nepal. And I'd, read up about altitude sickness, and I did actually take Diamox while I was doing the trek. And then I felt, once we got above about 4,500 meters, I did feel a little bit off and a little bit not so great, but I didn't actually feel sick. But the guy like the guides, because they regularly take groups, and they recognize the symptoms of altitude sickness, which we probably wouldn't. Like one of the other guys in our group, it just looked like he had like a cold, he was getting the flu, that kind of thing. And he didn't think that he actually had altitude sickness, but it was the guide who said, no, no, this is what it is. And, if it gets any worse, this is what we will do. So I guess particularly when it's your first time in Nepal, if you and the people that you're coming with have never trekked at altitude before and never been to Nepal before, these are the kind of things that you don't know that you need them until you need them. So you need somebody who's experienced in recognizing when somebody is starting to experience altitude sickness, and knows exactly what to do. And having said that, like, you know, on that trek, I didn't like, I felt a bit off, but I didn't feel sick. When I did Annapurna Circuit, I had, the headaches, and you know, it again, it wasn't bad, but it was different and worse to the first time. And again, the guide was able to recognize, you know, okay, this is actually symptoms of altitude sickness. You don't just have a headache. And even though you think you're going to be aware of it, it is really important, because you know, that's one of the most dangerous things about trekking at high altitude. And you know, you often think, well, if I've been once, I'll be fine the second time or the third time. But I've also, you know, I've been in a group where, you know, one of the porters who'd done this trek numerous times actually got altitude sickness during the trek. So, you know, it's one of those things that you literally, you cannot stress enough or take your safety for granted. So that's my 2 cents worth for today. Now, we did mention that there are some places where we think possibly a guide may not be necessary, and some places where, even though it's not compulsory, it could be a good idea. And there are some areas where it is compulsory. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share the screen and bring up the list from, like, this today's event is actually based on a blog on the website. So I'm just going to share that one. Now, so these are some of the places, so some trekking locations in Nepal where it's not necessary or compulsory, but it could be suggested. So do you want to just run through some of these for us, Dinesh?
Yeah. Yeah. Let me go through the Kodepani Punil trek. Yeah.
Yep.
So this is the short and sweet trek. Those people who are coming for Nepal short time and still want to do, still want to taste of trekking. So this is a suitable trekking trail. And yeah, this is a not compulsory, but necessary. I would say necessary, because of, for your, as we earlier saying, for your safety. When you don't need, you don't need. When you need, you need. Like,
Yeah.
especially you don't need in the beginning, maybe in Kathmandu, but in the high section of trek, for your safety and security. For safety means, like, especially in the mountains where rock falling, or you slip down and crack your leg, or like get hit on the stone on the head. Bandaging, basic meditation, communications, and showing the trail, of course, the basic things, explains the culture, telling the name of the mountains, of course, it compulsory. Also, while you're doing the Korepani Punil trek, you have a lot of cultural, you will meet with a lot of cultural and religious things. So he will introduce, and you have a lot of chance to understand in short time about Nepal. Okay. Yeah, and then the Helambu trek, we can see the another title, Helambu trek. This is the very surrounded by the Buddhist culture trek. It is the border with close from Kathmandu, but it's bordering with Tibet. The Helambu is just southeast from Kathmandu Valley, and it is the Buddhist kingdom. I would say small Buddhist kingdom. You know, like there is very old monasteries, of course, mountains everywhere, but the different things is there is monastery, more Buddhist things, landscapes, and things are very, very popular. So guide are not compulsory, to be honest, but you know, it's necessary. I would say necessary to, if you take a guide as Godepani Punil trek, you have a lot of opportunity to know about local things, culture, nature, and mountains, and safety and security all comes together. Okay.
Yeah.
So
So
next we can see the Rara.
yeah, these ones are, a guide is not compulsory, but we would recommend. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can see here on third point, Rara Lake. Rara Lake also very popular, and then it is the far west of Nepal, and definitely as it is remote and longer way and long many days to travel to get there, I would highly suggest to have guide. So you can also do your individual, but it's not going to be worth it, you know, because of you will lost so many things what you need to learn when you are there. So highly recommend for a guide for Rara Lake trek. Rara Lake is the beautiful Queen Lake of Nepal, where you will feel like a heaven, lakes, beauty of lake, beautiful tea houses, and the surrounded mountains will make you feel like you are in the heaven on the earth. So now we are going
Sounds
to see a little
amazing.
bigger.
I'm putting that on my list.
Please, yeah, you have to. Otherwise, we will be on your way. You are very important for us. If you don't come back to Nepal, so we will be just staying without work. So you have to make plan continue.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I will take you to the Everest Base Camp now. So Everest Base Camp is a little longer than the above 3 trekking. So it is nearly 2-week trekking, and then Everest Base Camp, everyone know that it is the bucket list for all the adventure lovers. And of course, it is a remote area and the biggest mountain in the world, and it is the base camp of oldest mountain of the world. So beginning of trekking to end of the trekking, we highly suggest and we highly recommend. It is compulsory and necessary to have a guide, as we discussed, as Michelle already said, experience of her from 2015. Guide is strongly recommended, but it's a very experienced one. So
Yeah.
who can help you really as a guiding, okay? So from beginning to end of the trek for Everest Base Camp, you need a highly recommended guide, a professional one who have been there with group like many times. Okay, and then we can see the Annapurna, another Annapurna, also very popular trekking trail in Nepal, and it is also high passes trek called Thorongla Pass. I think Michelle also done this trip in 2017, right?
I did,
Am
yes.
I
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yeah, and she knows very well and experience.
That's a very high pass.
And yeah, it give you feel about adventure. So
Mm,
we would highly recommend, and it is compulsory, and uh, regularly you need to take a guide for this trek. As a longer and high pass and altitude for your safety, for local communication, for demonstration about your trip in the right directions to complete in the right time. So highly recommended.
all right. Now let's have a look at some of the areas where it is actually compulsory to have a guide.
Yeah.
Let me just scroll through some of these.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. These are like a restricted area of
Right.
Nepal. Yeah.
Right.
So we can see Upper Mustang Trek. Upper Mustang is the restricted trek, so you have to go with guide. Without guide, you cannot apply the permit. You cannot go. You cannot trek. I mean, you cannot trek there. Okay.
Okay.
So Upper Mustang is the restricted, forbidden area of Nepal, and it is newly open for travelers.
Yeah.
As before, it was a hidden kingdom,
Okay.
right? It is the all the rules regulation from Nepal, but it was hidden as a tragedy property of like heritage of the Buddhist kingdom. And the Upper Mustang is the border of Tibet and Nepal, and maybe a thousand years ago, many Tibetan people are migrate from Tibet to there, and then all the Buddhist influences are very big there. Serenity, history, lifestyle, landscape, everything is very different. In monsoon, there is no rain. In other place, rain, but not in that area.
That's
That's a
right.
different.
We talked about this one a few weeks ago, where if monsoon time is the only time that you can come to Nepal, that this trek here is actually a good choice because there's not so much rain. And also I was just noticing the comment here where it said a guide must hold a trekking guide license. Now that applies to every time you hire a guide, no matter who you're looking at choosing, please make sure that they do actually have a license.
Yes.
Yeah.
Without
Sorry.
guide license, we cannot make a permit.
Yeah.
Our government check the license and insurance, like some basic trainings certificate, and then only they give permit for to go this region.
Yeah. Okay.
And
So as
Upper
you can,
Dolpo,
yeah.
Upper Dolpa is another bigger trek, very big trek and very remote area. So
Yeah.
normally you need like 3 weeks time, and you have to have a good experience of trekking at least once or a couple of time in life. not even Nepal, maybe in your hometown also.
Yeah.
And then because of it, as it is very long and remote area, and it is the far west of Nepal and very remote. All the lifestyle are very basic. Still, the car road is not reachable everywhere. Every village are not connected by road, so you can see very remote things. So it is also hidden place. The guide is very compulsory and very necessary. So without guide, Nepal government will not allow you to go there. So guides are important, but a professional guide, as we discussed, training, professional understanding about guiding and tourism.
Yeah. Now we
And
are going to run a little bit of short of time, so do you want to quickly go through the rest of these? Just
yeah,
okay, cool.
okay. Monaslu and Chumbali are in the same area. They
Yeah,
both need the guide. Without guide, you cannot go. This is also restricted area of Nepal. So when you go plan this trek, please go through the trekking agency and hire a good guide. And
yeah,
otherwise, you are not allowing to go individually.
yeah,
And Kanchenjunga is also same, like a restricted area, and also it is very remote and far, very far trekking trail. It's border with India, south of India, as Sikkim, and you need a guide definitely. Without guide it's impossible, and special guide. And Makalu base camp also another adventure, remote and longer and high passes. Those for Manaslu, Kanchenjunga, Makalu, if you are planning in the future, you at least you need some experience about trekking in before, like at least you have to be 5,000 meters before planning this trek, and then you can complete this trek. Otherwise, you cannot quick in halfway, because as you are in very remote area, and then this trekking are budget trek, not budget trekking. At least you have to invest good amount, as it is longer way, and transportations, guide, food are expensive. So when you're planning this kind of such a big trips, please be prepared well, and find a good guide, find a good company and representative from your home country, and that's good for you to complete
yeah.
this trek.
Now there's another heading here in this blog that says trekking without a guide, what are the advantages? Now, obviously for somebody who's really experienced and has possibly trekked before in Nepal or done remote treks, for those where a guide is not compulsory, you have more flexibility, and it's a little bit more cost effective, and I guess it's more of a challenge and an adventure. If you are a confident trekker and a confident hiker, you can design this to suit yourself. So we're not saying, you should always, everyone has to have a guide. But what I am strongly suggesting is understand your own limitations. And if at any point you don't
Yeah.
think that you are capable, please err on the side of caution and make sure you have a guide. And then these are the things that we talked about before, that if you trek without a guide, some of the disadvantages are the safety issues, because if you have an accident or if you have altitude sickness, the language barrier, and the lack of local knowledge. And that might not seem like a huge thing, but you really want to come away from your time in Nepal like having experienced the country and the culture and the people, and a guide can really help you do that. Now, was there anything else before I stop sharing this page that you wanted to add, Dinesh?
No, I don't think so. In our short events, short meeting, so this should be a little information to all our followers or friends all over the
Yes.
world. So if anyone want to know more about the informations, you can also contact Michelle in Australia, or you can also directly knock to the Nature Explorer Trek. We are very happy to provide you the full informations and guiding you to your plan to visit Nepal, Tibet, Bhutan. So I think that's I have to tell. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Now, as I showed you, that what we've been talking about today is part of one of the blogs on the Nature Explore Trek website. There is a wealth of information there, and we have a whole series of discussions that we've done about trekking in Nepal. So please follow along on YouTube, or as Dinesh said, if you have a specific question, reach out to either of us via the Nature Explore Trek website. Just use the contact form, fill it out. And if you are thinking of planning a trip to Nepal and you're not really sure what's going to suit you, what you can fit in the time you have, how you're going to see all the different things that you want to see, we're always happy to get together with you, because sometimes I think rather than exchange 15 emails backwards and forwards, if we can have a quick Zoom and just have a discussion, really understand exactly what it is that you want to come away with, then it's a lot easier to design something that's going to tick all of the boxes for you. So thank you so much, Dinesh, for sharing your wisdom and knowledge with us once again.
You're welcome.
We will be back same time next week. And I think next week what we might do is Dinesh and his team at Nature Explore Trek have just moved office. So
Yeah.
we might do a little bit of exploration of what goes on behind the scenes, have a look at the office, and just talk about what is entailed in actually looking after a group of trekkers and the planning that goes on behind the scenes that we don't necessarily see, but we reap the benefit of. How does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah.
You can take some photos for me, or we might even do a walkthrough of the office. And you are in Tamil, so we can show people what the outside of your office looks like. So if anybody's watching one of our series and they are in Tamil, then they can come and find you.
That's really nice. Yeah. Yeah, let's do it next week from my office, Tamil. I will go morning to the Tamil. And we
Yeah.
can do the meeting. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so we'll go next week. We'll go behind the scenes at Nature Explore Trek.
Yeah. Thank you.
Until then, namaste. And
Namaste.
talk to you soon.
Yeah, talk to you soon. Have a good day, and we talk to you soon. Say hello to team.